You are at 3 a.m., chest tight, and you do not know why. Everything is fine. You keep telling yourself that. Everything is fine. And somehow, that thought is the loneliest one you have had in a long time. That loop is the paradox of emotional suppression. It does not look like someone falling apart. It looks like someone who has everything under control. It looks like you. Emotional suppression is not stoicism. It is an automated shutdown your brain learned, early, to intercept emotional signals before they fully arrive. Not because you chose detachment, because somewhere along the way, feeling became too costly, and your nervous system became very good at making sure you never had to find out exactly how much. The cruelest part, it works. You stay functional. People rely on you. You handle things. And the price of that, the deep, wordless exhaustion, the fog between you and your own inner life, gets filed away under, "That's just how I am." That pattern has 9 very specific signs. And the reason they are difficult to recognize is not because they are hidden. It is because, from the inside, they feel exactly like strength. Sign 1. You almost never cry in front of other people, and rarely when you are alone. This is not stoicism. It is a conditioned response. When the amygdala fires in response to distress, the suppression system activates before the signal completes. You feel a tightness in the chest, a brief awareness that something is there, and then it disappears. Not because you chose not to feel it, because your nervous system was trained to interrupt the emotional cycle before it reaches expression. Research in affective neuroscience shows that habitual suppression rewires these pathways over time, making the interruption faster with each use. Sign 2. You know something is wrong, but you cannot say what it is. People with emotional suppression often carry a persistent low-grade unease with no clear origin. This happens because the emotional information was processed, your brain registered it, but was never converted into language. The feeling exists in the body as tension or a formless heaviness. Cognitive psychology identifies this as a breakdown between the limbic system and the brain's verbal centers. The signal arrived. It just never made it into words. Sign 3. Helping others is significantly easier than asking for help yourself. If showing up for someone in pain feels effortless, but saying "I need something" feels almost impossible, that asymmetry is not generosity. It is suppression. Giving care feels safe. Receiving care triggers an unconscious alarm because receiving requires vulnerability. And vulnerability, for someone whose system learned to suppress early, activates the same threat response the suppression was built to avoid. Studies in attachment theory consistently identify this pattern in people who adapted to environments where emotional expression was ignored or punished. Sign 4. You feel exhausted in ways you cannot account for. Here is where it gets important to pause. Suppression is not passive. Your nervous system is actively working to hold emotional material below the surface, and that takes real physiological energy. People who suppress chronically report fatigue that sleep does not fix, and genuine confusion about why. They are running a background process that consumes resources without stopping. Does any of this feel familiar? Because what comes next explains the part most people never connect. Sign 5. You reframe painful experiences as learning opportunities immediately. Not eventually. Immediately. Something hurts, and within seconds it becomes, "What can I take from this?" That is not wisdom. That is suppression, wearing the costume of growth. The emotional signal, the hurt, the anger, the grief, gets rerouted before it is fully processed, and what gets expressed is a cognitive interpretation instead. Behavioral research suggests this pattern develops most often in environments where emotional expression was met with dismissal, linking feeling to inadequacy. Sign 6. Physical symptoms appear where emotions don't. Headaches without a clear cause, tightness in the stomach before certain conversations, shoulders that never fully release. When emotional signals are blocked at the expressive level, they reroute into the body. Your nervous system becomes the expression point for what your mind has learned not to say. This is not psychosomatic weakness. It is a documented physiological consequence of chronic suppression, recognized across psychoneuroimmunology and clinical psychology. Sign 7. Conflict makes you go quiet, not loud. When conflict arises, the suppression system overactivates. You go silent. You become calm and reasonable. You feel a pull to de-escalate and make the tension stop. People around you read this as maturity. What it actually is, neurologically, is a freeze-adjacent response, a high activation state that looks like composure from the outside, while your nervous system runs at full capacity underneath. Sign 8. You feel most like yourself when you are alone. Around other people, the suppression system works harder. Every interaction carries the possibility of an emotional signal that needs managing. Alone, the system can partially relax, and that relaxation feels distinctly like finally being yourself. What it reveals is how much energy is being consumed to maintain suppression in social environments. Research in social neuroscience shows measurably elevated cortisol levels in chronic suppressors during interactions that feel, subjectively, entirely manageable. Sign 9. You are deeply aware of other people's emotions and almost invisible to your own. Emotional suppression does not mean you are not emotional. It means your awareness was redirected outward. Reading others became necessary early to predict reactions, to stay safe, to know when to withdraw. So your attunement to the people around you became extraordinarily precise. But when someone asks how you feel, the honest answer is often, I am not sure. Not because you do not have feelings, because the system that should route those signals back to your own awareness was rerouted a long time ago. Here is what all 9 signs have in common. None of them feel like suppression. Every single one feels like the right response, measured, reasonable, appropriate. That is not an accident. A system built to be invisible will always feel justified from the inside. Your nervous system did not fail you. It adapted to information it received very early, that emotional expression had costs, and that managing feelings before they arrived was safer than letting them land. And it has been running that adaptation, efficiently and without interruption, ever since long after the original environment that required it stopped existing. What is harder to sit with is this: the exhaustion, the disconnection, the fog about your own inner life. These are not signs of something broken. They are evidence of something that worked. A protection so effective it became permanent. That reframe is not comfort. It is the part that demands more from you, not less. Because if the suppression was built by a brain responding to something real, then releasing it means facing what it was built to protect you from. The question you carry with you after this is not whether you suppress. It is what, exactly, your system decided was too much to feel, and whether you are ready to find out.